getting our next batch of rebates from Wilbing.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Colts Board of Education, December 18th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom of the Administration Building at 70 Conover Road, Colts Neck, New Jersey. Vince, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, you may. Mrs. Denoya?
Here.
Mrs. Dillon?
Here.
Mrs. Dimes?
Here.
Mr. Orico?
Here.
Mrs. Ramirez?
Here.
Mr. Rignetta? Not present. Mrs. Volpe?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Wickberg?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, this meeting has been duly advertised in the Asbury Park Press and a schedule of meetings dated January 11th, 2024, notice of which has been filed with the Deputy Clerk for Colts Neck Township, and the requirements of posting of notices have been met. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes on the meeting, on the agenda. Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments for the approval of the minutes? All right.
Just one comment. Danielle has been really busy.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
How about it, guys? That's a lot of minutes. Cranked it out, and it's not easy because they're really, she goes through them very thoroughly, and so I just wanted to out loud thank Danielle for all of her hard work and effort to get everything put together for us. So
Yes.
that's all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Allison. Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to Vince, Mary Jane, and Danielle. Back in early October, I did request from the administration that we get caught up with all of our minutes by this meeting. I know that this is not an easy task. There's a lot of changes going on in our district right now. There's a lot on administration, which is all for the better of our district. But this was a priority, and so thank you for your time and making this a priority. So if there's no other questions or comments, Vince, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, on the approval of the minutes stated, Mrs. Denoya?
Yes.
Mrs. Dillon?
Yes.
Mrs. Dimes?
Yes.
Mr. Orico?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramirez?
Yes.
Mrs. Volpe?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Wickberg?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carried.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to our presentation from our student representatives. So I don't know who wants to start. I think if you just remember when you get up to the microphone, you can just press the button so it turns green so everyone can hear you. Perfect. You can. There you go.
Good evening, board members. I have another update on our pergola project. We got another contractor come in from Mr. Fence. He looked at where we were going to place the pergola. He gave us a bid. He gave us like the amount of money we need. The quote, yeah. And we are hopefully going to have the pergola up by Cedar Drive's 60th birthday in April.
Wonderful.
Also, just a comment, I really like how the Cedar Drive school store is open to holiday stuff and on half days is selling popcorn and juice boxes. So to Mrs. Hums and Mrs. Malcolm, if you're watching this, thank you so much. That's all that I have. Have a great night.
Wonderful. Does anyone have any questions about that or comments for her? No? Okay. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Manuel, do you have any input on the design itself, or is it pretty standard design from the Mr. Fence and the other contractor that gave a bid to our facilities director?
I don't have a specific idea on the design. It's going to be pretty standard. Not very big, not very small, no walls or much of anything. So it's like a pretty standard design.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have one question for you.
Yes.
During this process when Mr. Fence came out, what role do you play? Are you there when he's coming out, or do you get the information from Mr. Moretta or from Mr. Rigby?
So I'm there most of the time. when Mr. Fence came, it was very, very rainy, so Mr. Mercer didn't have me come out. But I was there to talk to him about like the quote sizing. I wasn't there to know the exact size or the exact like amount of money. I pitched him my idea of having like a class come out and teach maybe, or students come out and read. And but all in all, I was there.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's very cool. All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have one. Did you go over any fundraising ideas on how to raise money to pay for the project?
So no, but I have seen ideas on like YouTube or Instagram where people were taping their teachers to a wall. $1 for a piece of tape to tape a teacher to the wall. I thought that was a pretty fun idea.
Okay.
So maybe we could do something with that with like student council to raise money.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'll donate $100 if you do Dr. Garibay. Right to that, $100. And $200 for Vince. $200 for Vince.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Emmanuel.
So what it is you bring in $1, you get like an intro to a tape of tape, and like we can make it a contest, battle of the classes, which is what we're doing in Cedar Drive. We could do like one 8th grade teacher, one 7th grade teacher, one 6th grade teacher, with whichever like class, whichever grade donates the most money, or whichever teacher has the most tape will get battle of the classes points. We could do something like that. Or I'm still thinking of other ideas, so I can get back to you with new ones.
That's a great one, though. I like that one a lot. All right. Allison, did you have something?
I do. Is anyone else working with you on this?
So
Student reps?
it's really just me, Mr. Mercer, and Dr. Rigby.
Okay.
But Maureen McCormick, who is not here, as you can see, she's not here. She did say that her class thought, oh, what about a gazebo in the Peace Garden? So she was kind of in on it. It's mainly just me, Dr. Rigby, and Mr. Mercer, though.
Okay. You might want to get some other students to help
Yeah.
you. Especially these crew, right?
Yeah.
Like they're already signed up to do this, so, you know, more heads come up with more ideas.
Yeah.
So, and the help is always great. And I'm not sure the teachers are going to be thrilled with being taped to a wall. But
Some of
I
them
could be
might.
wrong. I can
Look at that. Volunteers. Yep.
It looks like you already have 2 volunteers. Thank you.
We might have a policy against that. No taping of the students. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. All right.
Hello, board members. I have an update regarding the dividers in the urinals, which I brought up last school year as being a problem. I recently received an update how Mr. Moretta and Mr. Marasco, sorry if I mispronounced that, are working to purchase the dividers, and they will be installed soon. I'll be notified when we actually receive them, and we will anticipate a date for their installation.
Wonderful.
That's it.
Any questions from the board about that? No? All right, great. Thanks so much for the update. All right, well, seeing that there is no other student representatives, we can note the communication on the agenda. And that brings me to my president's report. All right, so good evening and welcome to the December 18th Board of Education meeting, which is our final meeting of the 2024 year. As this year draws to a close, our schools are buzzing with activity and holiday spirit. From festive concerts showcasing our students' musical talents to food collections and acts of kindness spreading throughout the district. It's a truly special time of year for us here. The joy and warmth that we see in our schools during the holiday season remind us of the important work that we do together to support our students, our staff, and our families here. As you prepare to transition into 2025, we are also preparing to say goodbye to 4 of our current board members and welcome in 4 new ones in January. Tonight, I want to take a moment to recognize the contributions of Allison Denoya, Amy Dimes, Brenna Dillon, and Richard Wickberg, all who have served this district with unwavering dedication. Allison Denoya, you have been an asset to this board, earning the new board member boardsmanship certification through the New Jersey School Boards Association Board Member Academy and representing us at the state and county levels. Your commitment to continuous learning and professional development has set a powerful example to all of us. Your work has ensured that our board is always informed, effective, and striving for excellence. Thank you for that. Amy, you have placed communication at the heart of the work that you do for this board. From working closely with the PTO to reviving the board newsletter and establishing coffee chats for parents, you have created meaningful connections with the board and the community. Your efforts have ensured that families feel heard and engaged, fostering trust and collaboration throughout the district. Thank you for that. Brenna, you took on the ambitious task of building the advocacy committee, transforming a vision into a vital platform for our district. Your leadership has elevated our voice with local legislators, and your work with the Parent Advisory Committee has been transformative. Thanks to you and your dedication, we now have approximately 40 parents that are actively participating in discussions with the board, creating a robust dialogue that strengthens our schools. And I just want to note that when we first did this last year, I was very skeptical of how many parents were going to sign up for this. And this year we had even more. So kudos to that, and thank you for that. To these 3 women, I extend my gratitude. Your time, your sacrifice, and your unwavering commitment over the past 3 years have left an indelible mark on this board, this district, and this community. Richard, though your time on the board has been brief, your impact has been meaningful. Stepping into a board appointment is no small task, and your eagerness to learn, ask questions, and contribute has been inspiring. Your dedication to this district is evident, and I hope that you will consider running for a longer term in the future. Thank you for stepping up and bringing your voice to this team. To our community, I want to acknowledge that being a board member is not an easy job. It requires countless hours away from our families, dedication to understanding the complexities of district operations, and a steadfast commitment to balancing the operations of the board and the needs of our schools along with fiscal responsibility. The work is challenging, but it is also incredibly rewarding, and I am deeply grateful for everyone who takes on that responsibility. Looking ahead, we are excited to welcome in 4 new board members in January, 3 of which are here tonight. We look forward to continuing the great work happening in our district and striving for an even greater success in the new year. Reflecting on my time here as board president over the last 6 months, I can say that it has been an incredibly humbling, challenging, and yet very rewarding experience. The opportunity to serve in this leadership role has deepened my appreciation to the dedication of our administration, our staff, and the board members. I want to thank Vince and Mary Jane for your grace, for your patience over the last 6 months, and your support as I navigated this very steep learning curve in a very quick time. Your guidance has been invaluable, so thank you for that. I also want to extend my gratitude to Vinny Ragnetta, who is not with us tonight. He had a family obligation to attend, but his support as vice president was essential over these last 6 months. His willingness to step up, answer calls whenever I called, which was many times, and provide input was critical to making thoughtful decisions for this district. So I know Vinny will watch this in live stream, so thank you, Vinny, for that. I also want to thank this board for trusting me in this role. It has been a privilege to serve in this capacity, and I look forward to continuing the work collaboratively with all of you as we move forward into 2025 and my 3rd year on the board. And finally, as we approach the holidays, I want to wish all of the families in our district a season filled with warmth, joy, and cherished moments with your loved ones. Whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Christmas, a number of other holidays, or the arrival of the new year, may this time bring you happiness and togetherness to all. Thank you for being part of this wonderful community, and we look forward to an exciting year ahead. Happy holidays, and thank you. And that concludes my president's report. I don't believe we have any committees that have met, so we can go down to our board member liaison updates. So Brenna, do we have anything for the Parent Advisory Committee?
We did meet Monday night and Tuesday morning. They were both well attended. We talked some more about lunchtime. That's been a big topic. for the last few meetings. And I would say the parents are very eager for the work to continue, and unfortunately, it was just Allison and I there from the board those 2 nights, but hopeful for a smooth transition in the new year.
Thank you. Any questions for Brenna? No? Okay. Amy, what do you have for the PTO?
I don't have any updates from last week.
Okay. All right then. Any questions for Amy? No? Okay. For Colts Township, so Santa will be coming around on the fire truck this Saturday starting at 9 a.m. Santa will start on the east side of town and it will end at or near the Grand neighborhood. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. The Township reorg is January 3rd, and there will be a celebration at Firehouse Number 1 afterwards. We have been cordially invited as the Board of Education to attend after their meeting. And just a reminder that January 14th at 7:30 there is a planning board meeting, which is a public session where they're going to be soliciting public input, and that is specifically on the affordable housing. So if that's important to you, please make sure that you attend. Any questions for me on Township Committee? Okay. And Kevin, Colts Township Seniors.
Nothing really to report. I just encourage the senior citizens in our township to be engaged with our Board of Education with the upcoming budget talks and financing for the 25-26 budget, and please come out.
Thank you. Any questions for Kevin? All right. Allison, anything for state and county school boards?
Just a reminder that in February, the Monmouth County meeting will be virtual, and Senator Vin Gopal will be the speaker. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Allison? No? All right. That brings us to our superintendent's report. Mary Jane?
Thank you. I wish to echo the sentiments of Mrs. Ramirez in thanking Mr. Wickberg, Mrs. Denoya, Mrs. Dillon, and Mrs. Dimes for their service as board members. As your term on this Board of Education comes to a close, and on behalf of the Colts Township Schools staff, I want to take a moment to express our sincere gratitude for your work and dedication, hard work, and commitment to the betterment of our schools and community. It doesn't happen without you. Your leadership has made a lasting impact, and the contributions you've made, whether they were long-term or short-term, will continue to shape the future of education for years to come here in this district. Throughout your tenure, you have worked tirelessly to ensure that every student has had the opportunity to succeed, and in working with your fellow board members, you have always prioritized the safety, well-being, and growth and academic success of our students. We are deeply appreciative of the time and energy you've invested in serving our students. Thank you again for your service and for your unwavering commitment to the students, teachers, and families of the Colts Township Schools. I just wanted to highlight some of the other things. So proud of our kiddos and staff with some of our service learning projects that had their culminating activities this week with regards to at Cedar Drive, Student Council's food drive, who had an opportunity to visit Fulfill on Tuesday of this week, and then the elementary school, which we had the Stuffy Patrol project, which was our 5th grade enrichment students, which was a really unique idea. Where collected new stuffed animals or stuffies to house or store in police cars and or fire trucks for when they have to respond to situations throughout the town that may have children involved with them, and to provide maybe a stuffed animal of comfort or something to keep in the truck. So I thought that was a really nice way to be connecting, and it's true to the heart work that we do here in really educating a whole child as they progress through our schools. I want to just congratulate and thank the CNTA for their blood drive, which was last Thursday. Thank everyone who coordinated it, scheduled all of the things that go into it, and collected approximately 40 units of blood while they were there. So thank you for that community organization as well. On personnel tonight, you will see that the board is expressing its appreciation for 2 of our long-term employees here. One is Louis Vitor Pierre for his 25 years of service as a custodian here in the Colts Township Schools, who will be retiring in April. We wish him the best of health, happiness, and just all sincere gratitude in his retirement. And then also for Miss Joanne Camiso for her 25 years of service as a bus driver here in the district. So two really long-standing, outstanding employees that we sincerely thank and appreciate for all their time that they've spent with us and stayed with us throughout the years. I echo the sentiments. The performances have been just fantastic. The Cedar Drive performance was wonderful. It truly kicks off, in my opinion, our holiday season. That combined instrumental and vocal performance of our students is truly, truly wonderful. And then today was the first grade show, which was also a really nice snow day performance, which is, again, a really nice thing. Tomorrow, I know that the band is headed over to elementary school for their school-wide meeting, which is a fun event as well. So yes, lots and lots of fun things. With regard to closing 2024, I want to speak on behalf to the full board. Thank you to all members of the board for your service, 22 board meetings, and countless emails and updates and all the things that have been done in 2024, where we continue to discuss the needs and goals of our district. As we close out 2024, I want to take a moment to express my appreciation for you. Together, we have navigated challenges, changes, and decisions. Yet through it all, we have remained united in our shared commitment to one common goal, the success and well-being of our students. In 2024, each discussion, debate, inquiry has contributed to a collective progress of our district. Thank you for your service in 2024, your hard work, and for always keeping our students at the heart of every decision. And echoing the sentiments this year, just on Monday and Tuesday, Mr. Marasco and I met with our incoming 4 new board members for their board member orientations, and so we look forward to continuing the partnership and good work of the Board of Education. So thank you for coming in, and looking forward to the 8th for our organization meeting. That said, and to keep the meeting flowing, on behalf of the entire staff of the Colts Township Schools, we truly want to wish all of our families, staff, and members of our community a very happy and healthy holidays, and a happy 2025 as it comes quickly around the corner. Thank you. That concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Regine. Okay, so we have our information items on the agenda. Any questions about our information items? All right. So we can move on to our comments from attending constituents on all subjects. As a reminder, if you're going to speak, you can please come up to the podium and just tap the microphone on so that it turns green so that everyone on our live stream can hear you. You can come on up. And just state your name and address for the record, please.
Kevin O'Brien, 18 the enclosure. I'm not as sharp as the young lady who spoke earlier, so I actually have to take notes that I can read. I tried to get your picture in case you wanted to post it, but she was too quick for me. Anyway, from my perspective coming in, your team is really engaging and friendly. The banter back and forth before you start is so nice to see. We don't have that when I go to the town council meetings or the town committee meetings. It's a completely different environment, and you get more people here than they get at those committee meetings. So I'm hoping you can change your schedule with the town to some flexibility, but that's up to you folks. So a couple of things I wanted to share with you. You mentioned the affordable housing meeting taking place at the Conover School on the 14th at 7:30. The prior affordable housing meetings were led by the governing body in the past, which required, by law, public comment. This meeting is being held by the town planning board, so there is no public comment session. There's a public input session. They'll take your written response, but they don't have to respond to you. So it's a completely different format than we've had in the past. From my view, I've been engaged in these type of events for more than 20 years, and it appears Colts has created a format to silence the public and whitewash public concerns. I've shared that before, but when you have to put it in writing and you can't interact, that doesn't sound right from my view. Member Viola had stated there would be a brief presentation on the 14th. The public has no idea what that brief presentation will be. He stated there would be there were some concerns with the judgment that was passed by the court, but he didn't share what those concerns were in the December town committee meeting. So I did an Oprah request and got access to the court records. And it appears that we're going to be having sewers installed on 537 and on 34. So that's going to change. With the sewers come more apartments. That's the other aspect to share. When we look at Colts Neck Manor from a traffic standpoint, average trips per an apartment user is 6.6. There's 360 units, so you're looking at 2,376 more trips or traffic on 537 adjacent to the school. Over the course of the year, that's 867,000 trips. Add in the additional buildings or apartments to be built, and we're looking at 1,555 units times 6.6, and you're looking at 3.7 million trips of traffic on that road. It's going to be busy. So I'm not sure how that's going to impact bus traffic. So that's on the short on that one. I asked in May, I submitted a written statement to the town before the May meeting, and submitted written notices on how many more children are we going to be expecting. Planning should be able to plan and tell us a good projection on what that's going to be. There was no response from the town or from the town consultant. If I understand correctly, you've got a projection based on the Rutgers formula, which I've seen. If I understand correctly, your projection, if I did the math right, is 0.15 students per unit. And by the way, the other thing that I see when I come here, you folks actually take notes. You listen, you care, and it shows. The committee doesn't do, the town doesn't do that. So when I did my homework, if I read correctly, Robert, your projection as posted in the paper was 0.97 students per unit. So there's a big disparity between what your projection are and the basic math. So I just wanted to share, if we follow the 0.97, and I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, you're looking at 1,511 students being added to the school district. That's a lot. Based on Robert's projection, just from Colts Neck Manor, you'd be looking at 17 additional classrooms. Well, that's only 24% of the overall build-out. So you could be looking at something that's going to be significant, which really comes back to how do you budget for that? How do you plan ahead? The other aspect, when I did census readings, in Colts Neck we have 2.8 people per household, with 85% being married couples. If they're married couples and living together in the same house, then it's only 0.8 child per unit in Colts Neck. Households with children is 66% in town. Households without children, households with children is 34%. Households without children is 66%. So as the age begins to turn and beginning to happen on my street, where the people like myself may be moving out, in are coming younger people with or without children who are now beginning to have a family, which is now going to be a double impact on what you're going to be getting. And I'm not sure how your demographer is going to be able to calculate and make some projections on that as you move forward with these developments. So thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to field them. If you want a copy of the Oprah request that I did, you're certainly more than welcome to do that yourself, or I'm more than happy to send it over to you, and you folks can read it for yourself. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I just want to let you know a couple of things, and my apologies, I forgot to mention this during my township update. We have the township's schedule of their meetings, and we are working to scatter them this way. We don't line up with their meetings. There may be some conflicts just because of the way our school calendar is. We may not be able to avoid a few dates here and there, but we're hoping that it's not every single meeting the way it was in the past. So stay tuned for that. And as we've said before, as a school district, we are staying on top of this. And I believe it was last meeting we mentioned that we do, hopefully in the new year, we're going to have a representative from the company that did the demographic study that maybe can come and speak at a board meeting and shed some more light on things, answer some questions. So that's something to stay tuned for as well. And then, like our administration has shared, every school year we go through a whole system of going through and making sure, are we going to have an increase? What happens if we stay neutral? What happens if we decrease? So that's all constantly being done. So obviously with this taking place in our town, we have to, consider some other things this year, but we're not just turning a blind eye and ignoring it or pretending like it doesn't exist. So, but we really appreciate you coming and shedding some light on that and giving us those numbers. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so I did speak with Tim Infuso, the township engineer down at the township. I also did Oprah request for the manor because that's pretty much the immediate, situation that we're going to be dealing with. And there's, I believe I counted 14 or 15 individual buildings that the Kushner Group is putting up. I have the blueprints. They're at my office. So, yeah, 72 affordables and 288 regular, all rentals. None of them are resale. So it's a rental complex. And I do believe that the number is right around 1 per unit is probably going to be right around where, the number is going to be for the children. And Tim told me, I asked him, I straight out asked him, I was like, is this going to be something where, like, we're going to have time to deal with, or is this something where we're not going to have time to deal with? And he basically told me, he's like, you're really not going to have time to deal with it. He said to me that the first units are going to be built and completed, and they're going to be CO'd. Each individual building will be CO'd and probably pre-rented with their sales force that they have at their disposal, which is probably one of the best in the country. They will all be pre-rented. And he told me that starting in the fall of 25 is when we're going to start seeing the first influx, and it's going to last from the fall of 25 all the way to the fall of 2026. And he said, and you're going to see, that's when you're going to see your highest influx of children just with that one complex.
Thank you, Jason. Anyone else? All right. Any other comments from constituents?
Rob Scales, 2 Queens Pass. And just to, the manor gives me heart palpitations, but just to throw salt on your wound, renters do not pay property taxes. So people who are footing the bill will be people like you and I. So if Governor Murphy's listening and Vin Copal's listening, a resident of Colts Neck will not pay another dime for taxes for that. So they better have boxing gloves on, because when it comes to the school board and the new administration that's come in, it's going to be a high priority for us, and we're not going to tolerate any of the sewers you had mentioned. The sewers are in. I live next door to I live in the Grand next door. The sewers are in, so they're planning for something else. So we better be prepared. So switching gears really quickly, policy P9240. I was trying to make a comment last, not following the Roberts laws, but the policy that was submitted to first read, this is going to nullify completely the opt-in, opt-out conversation. This policy is slated to be instilled, which we all need to review, it completely removes the verbiage of allowing the school board to have an opt-in. It actually takes parental rights away, not adds parental rights. So the way that it's written, obviously, law is up for interpretation, but the way that it's written, it requires, Dr. Garibay, for you to still go out and farm data from the parents and then provide that data to the state of New Jersey. And as you all know, there was another district a couple months ago that was hacked, and the data that was taken from the parents for the people who had opted out, that was given to far left organizations, and they targeted those families with hate mail, with email, and social media. So if it's something that is needed to be done, we do it. But if it doesn't need to be done, that's just unnecessary data that needs to be collected. So I recommend just reviewing the policy in thorough with the board attorneys before we instill anything like that. Don't ask how I know this, but we talked about spray foam last week, Mr. Marasco. Believe it or not, spray foam is now illegal in the United Kingdom. It's the craziest thing in the world, but what's happening now is that insurance companies, when they're installing this installation spray foam, they're no longer insuring those policies. So granted, the insurance companies in the United States are absolutely out of their mind, as you know. So something to think of when we're going through the building and grounds is that spray foam, now it's not illegal, but in the future, the insurance companies, if they decide to follow other countries, could be up for a significant increase in premium or not be insured at all. So again, recommend getting professional opinion on that as well. And then final Website organization final site, that was Mr. Capasso had presented. January 20 of 22, they were subject to a hack. The data from, I forget the number of schools, but the data was stolen, and the website was down for over a week. So what I would recommend going forward with Final Site before we implement any of that is what's called a P2 penetration test. They are provided to give you that data. We need to find out exactly how the data is being mined. If you go to their website, they do not sell data in the traditional sense. That's their verbatim, their disclaimer. So what that means in the traditional sense is that when someone goes to a website, you have what's called a cookie. A cookie is then sold off to other data miners, and then God forbid we were ever to get hacked. We had mentioned that Genesis portal would be connected to the website, then that would make the Genesis portal susceptible. So that would be a HIPAA violation if anyone was to find any sort of medical records or anything along those lines, whatever we're storing in Genesis. So again, just a word for the wise. We need to vet Final Site before any final consideration. So that's all I have for today. So thank you all.
Thank you. One thing I just wanted to touch on was your comments about policy 9240. This policy has been something that I've been working on for almost 2 years now, along with administration, of course, when we had the policy committee last year, as well as a committee. The policy has been extensively looked at by our legal team, who's given the okay on it. And just to note, nothing can take away a parent's ability to opt their children out of the health education curriculum any lesson, and that's because of the New Jersey statute on this. So it doesn't matter, our policies do not supersede the state law, and so it's a state law, so it doesn't even matter, but the verbiage that's in this policy does not void any parental rights of being able to opt in, opt out, regardless of what we call it, permission slip, consent, opt in, opt out, it doesn't matter. No parent will lose that right because of this policy. In fact, this policy, if anything, only strengthens the parental rights in this district. So just to note on that. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to any of the other, the spray foam or the website. No? Okay, all right. So thank you so much for your comments. Any other comments from constituents?
Phyllis Camera, 1 Round Hill Court. At the last RAM meeting, 11/20/2024, around 4:30 p.m., 3 significant and costly items were added to the agenda without any prior discussion at previous committee of the whole meetings. Those items included a $60,000 Human Resources Secretary position, up to $100,000 for the purchase of gasoline, and an additional $120,000 for diesel fuel. Additionally, this afternoon, a guidance secretary position was added to the agenda. The timing and nature of these last-minute additions are concerning and give the appearance of manipulative decision-making. While there may be claims that delaying a vote on new positions would disrupt the operations of the district, this argument falls flat. Moving forward, the brief period between the December 18th meeting and the January 8th, when the new board takes over, includes the winter break, during which district operations slow. The idea that waiting a mere few weeks would jeopardize payroll or daily functions is an exaggeration designed to sideline the voices of the newly elected members and push through a questionable agenda without our input. I again strongly urge that no further budgetary decisions be made without the board members-elect involvement. We are elected to represent the community and manage funds responsibly. Any budgetary votes scheduled for December 18th today can easily take place on January 8th, ensuring that decisions reflect the will of Colts Neck residents. And then in terms of the pergola project, I think a good idea maybe for our student rep is to reach out to Colts Neck residents who own construction businesses, inviting them to volunteer their services in exchange for having their name or business recognized on the pergola. And additionally, to raise money, my district successfully held something called Penny Wars, where we raised enough money to purchase new carpets for every classroom. So for those unfamiliar with Penny Wars, it's a fun and competitive fundraiser. Each grade is given an empty water jug, and students could add pennies and dollar bills to the jug to earn positive points. And meanwhile, silver coins, nickels, dimes, quarters, can be placed in other grades to deduct points. And this encourages friendly competition while raising funds for a great cause. So it could be a creative and effective way to support the pergola project. So just an idea. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. So just a few things for the community to be aware of. So while I understand that we do have our bold revised agendas that come out Wednesday afternoons, and some of those items are obviously news to the public when you see them on that bold revised, hence the bold revised. The work that is done via email, Mary Jane's updates to us as a board, and then during other meetings, nothing that is on the agenda, it should be a shock to any board member that's sitting up here this evening. We have been discussing these items at length over the last several months, not weeks, not days, but months. So yes, it's a bold revise, and some of the logistics behind that are things that sometimes we can't always talk about in a public meeting because they involve personnel or security items. So we can't put that information out to the community for obvious reasons. But I can assure you that the people that are voting on these items, they're not news to us. So just something to keep in mind. What I have done, though, in speaking with Mary Jane, is I have requested that some of these items, we may not have the specifics of them, but that perhaps when the agenda goes out on Mondays to the public, that those items are added in with like a TBD with whatever information we can put in. So for example, some of the personnel items that you may see tonight, we knew about as a board. They weren't put on because we didn't have all the details for them until this afternoon. And so perhaps putting them on the agenda on Mondays would give the public a little bit more time. So that was a suggestion of mine that I just had with Mary Jane this week. And I'm hopeful that administration will be able to follow through with that to some extent, or whatever extent we can put out that information. Again, sometimes we just can't because it's sensitive information that we can't disclose to the public until we have all that information. But as much as we can to try and have that full spirit of transparency as much as possible. I hear what you're saying about waiting until January. I do, but just as though the three of you sitting here tonight, I know there's a fourth member that was elected to do that work, so was I, so was each and every board member up here tonight. We were all elected through January of 2025. Just because there was another election does not mean that any one of our voices should not have a place on this board because there's new individuals that are being sworn in. I would feel like my voice and my opinion as a board member, even though I have a whole nother year ahead of me, would be stopped for these next couple of weeks while waiting for the more members to be sworn in. And I'm confident that I can speak for the outgoing board members that they would also feel in their last meeting where they have a voice and they can make a difference, that they won't have that ability. So I just ask that you be mindful of that. I'm sure once you're on the board, you'll have a better understanding of some of the information that's given to us as board members, as it should be, because we're the ones voting on it, not the public. And again, we were elected or appointed in some cases to do this work. And like I said, it's not easy. It's a challenging job. And I'm confident that in your last couple of weeks on the board, you'll also feel the same way, or at the end of each year when there's a new election. So just something to consider, a different perspective. Any other comments from constituents? Round two.
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
When we go to the town committee meetings, we don't get feedback like this. So the fact that people are up here speaking and then you're giving feedback, positive reinforcement right after we're done,
I try.
is just really refreshing. I don't know whether you realize that, but I just wanted to let you know, and thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from constituents? You're on. Oh, you can lower it though. Yeah.
Tracy Diener, 5 Monticello. I just wanted to say thank you. I think the student representatives is an amazing thing. My daughter's in there, I'm not biased, but I do think it's great, and I just want to thank all of you for creating this for them. I think it teaches them life skills, presentation skills, learning from all of you, so I just want to tell all of you thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments from attending constituents? All right. Seeing that there are none, I will close the public comment section of our agenda, and we can move on to our action items. Can I please get a motion to move action items 1 through 4 on the agenda?
Motion.
Any questions or comments on action items number 1 through 4? Okay. Being that there are none, Vince, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, superintendent action items 1 through 4. Mrs. Denoya?
Recuse on 1, yes to 2 through 4.
Thank you. Mrs. Dillon?
Yes.
Mrs. Dimes.
Recuse on number 1 and yes to 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. Arico.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramirez.
Yes.
Mrs. Volpe.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Whitberg.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carried.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion to move curriculum items 1 through 3 on the agenda.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments on curriculum items 1 through 3 on the agenda? Okay, being that there are none, Vince, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, on curriculum and instruction items 1 through 3. Mrs. Denoya.
Yes.
Mrs. Dillon.
Yes.
Mrs. Dimes.
Yes.
Mr. Arico.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramirez.
Yes.
Mr. Excuse me, Mrs. Volpe.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Whitberg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm looking for a motion to move finance items 1 through 8 on the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All right, any questions or comments on finance items 1 through 8 on the agenda?
Yes, on item 6, the fact that Mr. Scales brought up that there was a breach with information, do you think it's wise to maybe, hold off and, vet this company a little better? Just recommending that?
No, thank you for the question, because I knew there would probably, that's part of what the process was that our staff used with regards to security and all the things. So the points that, were made by Mr. Scales are certainly valid. And whenever there's anything like that, that's something that is part of the overall process of vetting that out. So I know it wouldn't be recommended without that, but certainly throughout that transition process, which there is a timing for. Remember, I think during the presentation we learned about with regards to transitioning the website so it's up and going. We're not paying the duality of it and moving forward. What we can certainly make sure and ensure that we're going through as the transition process to reiterate, and I can provide, get information specifically to respond to those concerns specifically if we want, and speak to that more specific. I know it was part of the process as we were vetting it out. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend delaying it, but we can certainly have more in-depth, detailed conversation about it with the vendor themselves.
Okay, I definitely agree with you. We don't want to double spend. I'm just worried
Right.
about the
Nope.
ramifications
Completely
of having this
understand.
and them already being under contract, that our district would probably, take the fall on that. That's my only concern. I'm not sure, whether to support it or not.
Yeah,
I don't know what
sometimes
our other choices-
without going into too much detail on it for that, but I agree with you, and I think we want to present the information to the board that's been vetted out with regards to the security concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mary Jane. Any other questions on finance items 1 through 8? All right, Vince, may I please have a roll call?
Yes. Finance 1 through 8. Mrs. Denoya.
Yes.
Mrs. Dillon.
Yes.
Mrs. Dimes.
Yes.
Mr. Arico.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramirez.
Yes.
Mrs. Volpe.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Whitberg.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passed.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion to move policy item number 1 on the agenda.
Motion?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about policy item number 1? All right, I just want to say thank you to the administration and the board members who were instrumental in working with myself on these policies. I'm so excited to have a Naval Weapons Station Earl liaison created to work with Mrs. Ida Jones over there. We are going to be hopefully doing some more, continuing the good work, but hopefully a little bit more structure. And I think that bylaw also will create a little more structure with the 4 new incoming board members to guide some of those community liaisons so that we can better serve our community and bridge any gaps that may exist. And that's all that I have about that. So any other questions or comments? All right, Vince, may I please have a roll call?
Yes. Policy item. 1 item. Mrs. Denoya.
Yes.
Mrs. Dillon.
Yes.
Mrs. Dimes.
Yes.
Mr. Arico.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramirez.
Yes.
Mrs. Volpe.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Whitberg.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passed.
Thank you
unanimously.
so much. All right, I am looking for a motion to move personnel items 1 through 17 on the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you and thank you. Any questions or comments about personnel items 1 through 17 on the agenda?
Yeah, I have a question. There's one listed on the next page without a number.
I think it's a continuation of number 17.
Oh, okay.
It's a long resolution, so.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, that, yes. Any other questions or comments?
So this here, because I thought there was two separate things. So this person here is being assigned to do all of this? Am I reading that correctly?
The person being recommended is a current employee,
Okay.
being reassigned and transferred to the other position. The position that's being vacated as a result of that, right now, we will be internally transferring using current staff and won't right now have an immediate need to backfill that position.
Okay, so hold on. Be patient with
Absolutely.
me.
Mhm.
So the instructional assistant is being taken away
Correct.
to fill a secretary.
Correct. Is being transferred into that position. Not, and then because of the need, not back right now. I mean, instructional assistants are based on student need and IEP driven. Yeah,
I'm going to vote the way I want, but
Right.
it's sad to see that, like, an instructional assistant will be taken away to put a secretary.
no, that's not the case at all. The instructional assistant applied for the position.
Okay.
And based on, can we take a 5-minute recess?
Do you want to do that?
Can we just take a 5-minute recess for a second? I mean, for an executive session for 5 minutes?
Yeah, this is, she can do, no, we'll call like a 5-minute recess.
Not a recess, not a,
Or a, is it an executive session? Is that what it would have to be? Yeah. This is, she can answer your question, because we can't say certain things.
for matters of confidential personnel.
In a public meeting. Is that okay? This way you can get your,
Yeah,
this
whatever,
way you
yeah,
can get,
whatever you feel is appropriate.
Absolutely. So we'd have
All
to,
right, so I need a
motion to go into
move
executive session.
a quick 5-minute session where no formal action will be taken.
The
Motion.
will be
The
ended.
live stream will be ended, I'm sorry, and handled, handled and ended. And then when we move back into public comment, everyone's welcome to come back in. And then we will vote on all the personnel items. So we will not be voting on any of the personnel items during the executive session, we'll just be discussing.
And then the live streaming ends and doesn't start again.
The live streaming will not start again, unfortunately. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The purpose of the executive session is to discuss personnel item.
Confidential
matter.
personnel
The confidential personnel matter. So I'm looking for a motion to move into that executive session.
I made it. Motion.
Oh, you did? I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you,
Yeah, it's all
Allison.
good. I made the motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
Jason, second.
Jason, all in favor?
All in favor?
Opposed?
5
Yeah.
minutes.
Motion
Just wait
carried.
5 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, if you want to hang tight out there for 5 minutes, and then we'll call you all back in.